business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit. It's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. Today's guest, oh my God, she is going to light you guys up and you girls. She's going to motivate you. She's going to challenge you. And most importantly, you're going to walk away with tools and resources that inspire action both in your life and the lives of others. But before we dive in, here's your homework today, audience. Yeah, you got homework, but this is easy. And it's really ROI is huge. How are you going to serve yourself and others today? Doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes, and let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. And a quick shout out to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the messaging framework that works anywhere for any audience. I engage, persuade, inspire, and close when I pitch, I post, and I podcast. I use it daily and it works. Get your free trial at epicimpact.ai with promo code Steve to start inspiring action today. I'm excited to announce Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast is named top 20 in small business marketing. From my heart to your soul, thank you so much, including my guest today. We're making an impact. That's the goal of this podcast. So audience and guest, my heart goes out to all of you. Thank you. Let's bring our incredible guest on today. Got a pleasure talking to her for about 10 minutes. And oh my God, you guys are blessed today. Let's welcome Carole. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm just delighted to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you. You've got this phrase that just, I read it and my heart sung, Queen of Touchy-Feely. Explain that.
Well, a little context first. So I am not a career academic, but I did spend almost 20 years teaching at the Graduate School of Business at Stanford. And the course that I taught was called Interpersonal Dynamics, officially, but the students called it Touchy-Feely. Emphasis on the feely, not the touchy. And that was the most oversubscribed to elective at the school. It was legendary. It was and it continues to be legendary. And I was one of the faculty members who taught Touchy-Feely. And I somehow became known as the Queen of Touchy-Feely. I never set out to be that, but after a few years, students started referring to me as the Queen of Touchy-Feely. And I think the reason for that is that they experienced me as living, breathing, just embodying the principles of Touchy-Feely, of interpersonal dynamics, which was, I mean, we can get into that, but essentially, I became representative of everything the course sought to teach and to hopefully motivate students to engage in. And so that's how I became known as the Queen of Touchy-Feely.
I love it and I'm excited because this is business class at Stanford, one of the best in the world, I've been told. I'm going to say that, and we're going to say that because touchy-feely in business. Oh my God, Carole, I'm a CEO. I can't be touchy-feely with my, touchy with my janitor. Yeah, why not? You can walk into the room and go, hey, let me help you clean up the bathroom. Hey, great job. Thank you. You mean a lot to me. Why are we afraid to do that in business?
I think we are stuck with with what I call mental models, beliefs and assumptions about how we need to show up in order to be seen as credible, in order to be powerful, in order to be legitimate, and in order to be influential. I mean, in the end, leadership's really about influence. How do you influence people? And we're stuck with often old mental models that might have been useful at one time, but then ceased to serve us. I can give you a quick example if you want.
Yes, please.
So in am I going to give you the date? It's really going to date me. A long time ago.
There you go.
I went to work for the largest industrial automation company in the world. as the first woman in a non-clerical job. I was hired as a sales engineer. So yes, this was quite a while ago. We'll just say it was in the 1970s. And I learned very quickly, the first thing you need to do if you're going to succeed, Carole, is leave your feelings in the parking lot. There is no place for business for feelings in business. And you know, I was ambitious and I wanted to succeed, and I learned, and I'm a quick learner. And so I got pretty good at leaving my feelings in the parking lot at the door. And I kept getting promoted, and I was a fast learner on other fronts too. Anyway, fast forward 10 years. 10 years later, I'm sitting at an offsite with I'm now running a 13 Western state region for this company. I have managers who have people that work for them, who have people who work for them anyway. And this is my core group. We're at an offsite. I've got 6 guys who work for me. And, you know, ladies, for you in the audience, I did finally fix that, but it took me, at the time of this anecdote, I still hadn't quite gotten there. Anyway, I had 6 gentlemen who worked for me. And I got excited about something I thought we could do. And I got crickets. And I got more excited, and I got crickets. And then finally I said, come on, you guys, this could be so cool. What is the issue here? And one of them, Steve, leaned in and said, Carole, is that water in the corner of your eye? Oh my God, are you human after all? And then I burst out crying. And I said, you don't think I'm effing human? I did use the full expletive, but I don't want to offend anybody on the podcast. I don't think there is anything more important for us to talk about than that. And I tore up our agenda for our 2-day offsite, and we spent the next 2 days talking about who we were, why we were there, what our hopes and dreams were, how we could help each other, what was important to us, what we valued. To this day, I know that was the day I became a leader. And I know that was the day we became an unstoppable team. And I just got lucky.
Yeah, Scott Universe reached out to you, called you out. You know, here's something for you. You became a servant leader, which I add, that's always my thing, because you served them. And you probably had a cool 2 days, probably better than what you had when you ripped up that agenda. You're like,
it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. And then it's ironic that, you know, 20 years later, I became known as the Queen of Touchy-Feely at Stanford.
And they're right now going, she's on it. Thumbs up. I love it. She is touchy-feely, which is great. Talk about what you talked about earlier, interpersonal dynamics, your class. What does that mean? I saw that. I know what it is, but for the audience, I think it's a powerful definition of that.
Well, so interpersonal dynamics is about what happens between 2 people when they are trying to communicate, but it's more than communication, when they're trying to connect. Interpersonal dynamics is ultimately about learning how to connect. And it's about learning how to connect in different ways and across multiple differences, if you will. And what is really one of the great gifts of becoming interpersonally competent is that you also, first of all, as a leader, you become more influential, because people are more likely to follow you if they feel in some way connected to you. And second of all, you learn a lot about yourself in the process of connecting with someone else, because you learn what it is that you do that makes you effective and what it is that you do that makes you less effective. And if you create a relationship where somebody else will tell you, you know, Carole, that doesn't work for me. When I have somebody who has the guts to say to me, are you human after all? It changes the course of my life.
Yeah, especially because that was a while ago. We'll say a long time ago.
A long time ago. The dinosaurs weren't quite roaming the earth, but it was a long time ago.
Jurassic World was not then, but close. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is recognizing it too, which I think people miss out. And back at that time, you know, the mantra for business owners, especially executives, 80-hour work weeks, the badge of honor. Hey, Carole, I just worked 80 hours.
Oh yeah.
Bullpucky. That's not a leader. That's just a scoreboard, right?
Right. And I'll add one other thing, which is if I had burst out crying 6 months after I got hired, I might never have gotten to where I got. But by 10 years later, I had more than established my credibility. Everybody knew that I was technically competent, that I was smart, that I was hardworking, that I was strategic. And I know I was still hanging on. This is why I use it as an example of mental models that get stuck and then we don't update them with new data.
Yeah. Software. Yeah. It's tech.
Exactly.
You're in tech. It's a software. Oh man, it is so cool. Because I think women are going to take over business because of what you just said, because emotion come in and all that. Let's talk about leaders in tech. You have so much you're doing. You're so awesome and a rock star.
Thank you.
I love that name, but tell us more about leaders in tech.
So, so I have two co-founders. One of my co-founders was actually a client of mine. I had coached him for a long time. He was the founder of Flickster. He bought Rotten Tomatoes. He had a big exit to Warner Brothers. And when he had his big exit, he came to me. I was still at Stanford. And he said, Carole, why don't you leave Stanford? And why don't we start something where we bring the Carole Robin curriculum to Silicon Valley? It is so sorely needed. And I said, oh, Joe, I'm flattered. Thank you. But no, I'm too old to do a startup. And I love my students and I'm not leaving. Well, being the entrepreneur that he is, the most outstanding entrepreneur I've ever met, frankly, he came to me every 6 months for 10 years
Wow.
until he talked me into leaving Stanford and starting Leaders in Tech. Now, it coincided with my having reached the stage of being in academia where, frankly, every single year it was part the effing Red Sea to try to make things happen, and I had had enough. So I, the stars lined up, and so we launched Leaders in Tech. But I said, Joe, why would anybody come to Leaders in Tech? There's an exec ed program that teaches Touchy-Feely that I developed, that I co-developed at Stanford, and that I taught for in many years. Why would anybody come to Leaders in Tech? He said, Carole, you know people in the Valley. I know people in the Valley. We'll send out some letters to VCs. We'll say, do you know any CEO founders who might be interested in this? And if you do, nominate them. We got 380 nominations in the first 2 weeks after we sent out half a dozen emails. That's when I said to Joe, I think this is what they call product market fit.
Well, and what he did with you is a success builder's dream. That's what successful people do. They never take no for an answer. 10 years. That's why he's successful. That's why Flickster probably was successful. All this because a mindset like that. So when I'm blown away by 302 weeks, and again, that's building relationships. You and him going out to that relationship, going,
right.
Hey, I love Carole. She's touchy-feely. Right. Yeah, I'll definitely nominate people. Such a great thing. Here, I don't want to miss this before we get done. You told me you have a mission in life. Tell us your mission because it really rocks my world when you talk about it.
I was put on this planet to help people learn how to connect with each other in meaningful and productive ways. Everybody doesn't have to be your best friend, but there is no reason why every relationship in your life can't be functional. And in fact, I wrote a book. We might talk about the book that I wrote, Connect. Yeah. But one of the premises of the book is that relationships exist on a continuum. And at one end of the continuum is contact and no connection. Those are your thousands of Facebook friends. Also at that end of the continuum is dysfunction. At the other end of the continuum is what my co-author and I came to call exceptional. But we're not saying you got to turn every single one of your relationships into something exceptional. What happens is once you develop the competencies required to move along the continuum, you get to at least functional and productive and satisfying. And so, and there are a number of competencies that people can learn in order to move along the continuum with anybody. So, I sometimes feel pretentious and worried that I sound pretentious, saying that, I was put on this planet to help people learn how to connect, and especially connect when they see things very, very differently. Because, I think to myself, people are thinking, well, who the heck are you? Like, why would you think you're so special? And so that's what makes me a little jittery and nervous about like naming it. But I do plant a stake and say that's what I was put on the planet to do. And that's what I've done for 40 years.
Audience, what you just learned is $1 million tip. It's a golden nugget. She knows her purpose up and down, didn't think about it. Like, I know my purpose is serving in business. That's powerful. I mean, I know I'm making a big, but it's huge, because once you know that, you're going to be successful. How that looks, we don't know what that looks like, but that's really powerful. That's really, really, really cool.
It, you know,
Go ahead.
I'll just add that we were talking about this before we got started. What it does is it informs every single thing I do every single day. I live it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it. So I think when people show up with consistency that way, they are more influential and they are more powerful.
Amen. Because we're so aligned. I'm living it. I've told you things are going on. I know exactly what you're saying. It's just, we're such a fear-based society right now. And
Yeah.
all this noise in social media and the news is just taking us away from connecting. And COVID didn't help either. Let's jump into the book, because I'm making note. I'm ordering it because I want to learn more. Tell us about Connect. Yeah, show us this on YouTube. You're going to see it. On a podcast, she's showing Connect with building exceptional relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. Well, that can't be more of a tongue twister and powerful.
We wanted to make sure people realized it wasn't just a business book.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about connecting.
Exactly. Once you learn how to connect, you can connect with people everywhere in your life.
Yeah.
So, the book came to be because we had an editor from Penguin Random House, my co-author and I, who came to us and said, so there's this course that thousands of alums have said was worth the entire price of tuition at the Stanford Business School, which, by the way, made us real popular with our colleagues. And there's no book. Why is there no book? And we said, because you're not really going to learn how to be interpersonally competent by reading about it. You actually have to do it. And he said, well, then how are you okay with the only people who get to learn how to do it well being those that are lucky enough and privileged enough to go to the Stanford Graduate School of Business? Good salesman. So David and I looked at each other and said, I guess it's time to write a book. So we wrote this book. It was one, if not the most difficult professional undertaking of my entire career. It took us 4.5 years to write it. And it's now sold 170,000 copies, and it's been translated into 14 different languages. In fact, the French edition is behind me along with the English.
Oui. I'll use my little French, which is not much. Oui.
And it's our life's work and it's actually the book. What took us so long was that at the end of every chapter, there's a go deep in your learning by doing something. So there's like almost like a built-in little workbook in the book. And so it's not a book you're going to read, get on a plane in New York and read it. And when you get to San Francisco, put it in your bookshelf. It's actually something you're going to go do something with. And that's what took us so long to figure out how to essentially turn the book into taking the course one chapter at a time.
Powerful. You know what I'm excited about? One, about getting the book, but two, 170,000 people want to learn about connecting. I didn't think it would be. I'm glad it was, but it excites me that people want to connect, because that's a missing link in this world with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about is all that. So what's the misconception that people have about connecting with people?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple of things. The first is it actually takes some work. It doesn't just happen magically. That's another mental model we hold. We meet and we instantly like each other or we don't, and then we connect or we don't. Well, human beings are a lot more complicated than that. So it takes some work, and some people just don't, they want it to just happen. And if it doesn't just happen, then they move on to the next relationship. And so they're not willing to invest the time and energy and work that it takes. I think another misconception about connection is that it somehow will result in you having less influence and less power, where I have empirical evidence that it's the exact opposite. But I think some people think I've got to play my cards real close to the vest in order to be successful. Well, when I play my cards close, you're going to play your cards closer. Then I'm going to play my cards even closer. Then pretty soon, neither one of us is playing at all. There are no cards on the table at all. How is that going to result in a functional relationship, professional or personal? So, I think that's another common misconception that gets in the way of connection. And I think that there is some people, you and I were talking about this before we started too. It requires us to be interested and curious, and not think we've got all the answers. Because the more I think I have all the answers, and the less curious I am about you, the less inclined you're going to be to tell me about you. The less I know about you, the less I'm going to know how to influence you. Because frankly, if I want to influence you, I have to speak to your interests, not mine. So how am I going to know what your interests are if I've never created a space where you're going to feel comfortable telling me what they are? I mean, to me, the logic is very evident, but apparently it isn't to many people.
The cart before the horse is what comes to my head. They always want to put the cart before the horse, and vulnerability happens. And if it, being vulnerable, I always teach people is, I learned this phrase a few years ago, what you think about me is none of my business. So I'm vulnerable as can be. And if you think, oh God, his podcast sucks, he has a terrible voice, that's your thoughts. I'm not judging you. They're your thoughts. That's great. But I'm moving on.
And even
Go
better,
ahead.
if I'm doing something the behavior now, not personality, not the sound of my voice, which I may or may not be able to do anything about, but if I'm doing something that I have some control over, that is in some way distancing you, alienating you, irritating you, aggravating you, angering you, I'm so much better off if you tell me, because then I have data with which to work in service of our relationship. I can decide, oh, it really bothers Steve when I go on and don't make enough space for him to ask me a question. I think I'll try shutting up for a little while and giving him a chance.
Carole, I'm rarely speechless. You're still teaching. Even though you're not a teacher, you just taught me wonderful things today. We're coming to the end here. What does Carole's future look like? I'm very excited to hear this.
It's a really wonderful and intriguing question for me right now, because I'm at a juncture where I've built a wonderful team at Leaders in Tech. I haven't. We have built a wonderful team at Leaders in Tech. And I think the worst thing that a leader can do is make him or herself so integral to an enterprise that the enterprise is dependent on them. So we have now gotten to the point where Leaders in Tech is doing great, and it doesn't need nearly as much of Carole as it once did. I also am at the tail end of having suffered with long COVID for 3 years. And that actually precipitated a need to make Leaders in Tech less and less dependent on me, because there was less and less we could be sure I'd have the capacity to do. So I've cut back to some extent. I mean, I'll always be a co-founder. I'll always be the ambassador. I'll always continue to help with curriculum design and certainly counsel and advice of our top executives and our facilitators. I've toyed with writing another book, but frankly, one of my kids said to me, "Mom, are you kidding? You were so miserable while you were writing that book. Why would you ever write another book?"
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
So I don't know about that, but you hit the nail on the head, which is that I am a teacher. And what I am always looking for are opportunities to teach, which is why I love doing podcasts. I love doing talks. I love doing short consulting gigs, which are really more like workshops on what I teach. And so I think what's in my future is just more of those, especially as I've regained more of my capacity and my energy.
Yeah.
And just more opportunities to, it's a travesty, Steve, that people don't realize that this resource exists. It's, if any of you listening to this are in a relationship, professional or personal, that feels like it could be more, on any dimension, along any lines, then there is actual help for what to do about it. And I think it's a travesty that people don't know that exists.
Amen. I love that. What a legacy you're leaving too. I talk a lot about legacy, and you're absolutely beautiful. You're just a rock star. Let's ask a fun interpersonal question.
Okay.
I love asking to get to know you a little deeper. So I got a reservation at a restaurant for you,
Yes.
table of 4, and you're going to sit in one of the chairs. You've got 3 empty chairs. Who
Yes.
would you invite to sit with you, whether dead or alive, to talk with, get in their head, learn about, be curious with, using your beautiful words? And here's the most important thing. What food would you order for the table?
Oh, I have to order a food for the whole table?
Yeah.
Well, I probably wouldn't order for the whole table until I understood what my guests like to eat.
Look at that. Teaching again. I love it. Okay.
So I'd start with that. Who would I have at the table? Do they have to be alive?
No.
Okay. I'd have Nelson Mandela. I'd have, who's like one of my heroes in life. I'd have, I'd have my dad, because he would bring a lot to the conversation. He'd be unafraid to ask any question. He really called it like he saw it. And I need a third. I'd have, this one's hard. This one's hard because the third person that comes to mind is somebody that I actually kind of have a problem with, but maybe that's why I'd invite them. But now I hate to say that publicly, because now that person would know that I have a problem with them.
We pick somebody different. No worries.
So
Somebody inspired you, motivated you.
yeah, I'm looking for a woman who really stepped out and changed the course of things. And so that's the traits, those are the traits I'm looking for. Who, I can't remember the woman who led the suffragette movement, but that's who I'd have.
Okay. We'll pull her name out of the universe when she'll come in. That's a beautiful one. What a table, my God. Shout out to your dad too. He did a wonderful job raising you, that is for sure. Thank you again for being an incredible guest. We were really blessed listening to you. You're so powerful and wonderful and kind. Kindness and empathy is so a big part of you. I know people listening are going, how do I reach out to Carole? How can they get the book? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So I am on LinkedIn, Carole Robin, and I will give you my email address because you'll need it in order to connect with me on LinkedIn. But please don't send me an email trying to sell me something. And please don't connect with me if all you want to do is sell me something, please. So I'm Carole Robin, LLC at gmail.com.
Beautiful. I love it. Go ahead.
And so I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach me, is connect with me, and also follow me on LinkedIn. And go to my book website, www.connectandrelate.com. And on that website, there's a drop-down menu under, I think it's called resources, activities maybe, where you can take a self-assessment free. You can download a self-assessment, see just how interpersonally competent are you? And then, by the way, give it to a few people and compare your answers to their answers, and then ask yourself how interpersonally competent you are. And there's also how to start your own study group and all kinds of resources on that, plus a ton of articles and other podcasts and interviews and all kinds of things if you want to know more about the work.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take that assessment when I get off here. I'm excited. This is really cool. And you see this audience, she's serving at the end. She started serving, she finished serving, giving us free stuff. That's what I love about her so much. So reach out to her. Here's your homework at the end. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to get this link, to get other links. Here's why. You listen to Carole today and you go, oh, my friend needs to learn how to connect. 10 minutes listening to Carole could change their life. Even more so, they go to her website or they connect on LinkedIn to learn more. You impacted somebody. What do we start with the show with impacting? We're ending the show with impacting. So go ahead and subscribe, or if you haven't subscribed, please do. And me and Carole want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.